I know I should be happy. I should be enjoying what I have. But every time the word commitment comes up, I feel an immense pressure inside me. There's something inside me that locks up, an irrational fear that takes over. I'm not sure if it's the fear of losing my freedom or the fear of getting hurt, but every time the idea of a more serious relationship arises, my mind goes into panic. Sometimes I find myself asking, am I ready for this? How can I trust someone fully when I can't even trust myself to take this step? It seems like the closer I get to someone, the more fear I have of truly getting involved, of giving everything of myself and being vulnerable. I try to convince myself that I can overcome this, but the fear of commitment and what it might mean stops me from moving forward. Wisdom. How can I overcome the fear of commitment in a relationship? How can I deal with this fear of committing and giving myself completely?
The fear of commitment is something very common, both in men and women, and I understand how much it can cause pain, anxiety, and uncertainty. And none of this is your fault. Feeling this fear is a real and difficult experience, and you didn't invent it. It is related to causes in your unconscious, often stemming from negative experiences you've lived. But know that you're not alone and not lost on this path. There is an explanation for this fear, and there is also a solution. To overcome the fear of commitment, it's essential to first understand the causes of this fear. When you understand what's behind it, you'll find ways to overcome it. Wisdom is here to share with you 4 reasons why you might fear commitment in a relationship. The first reason is the fear of losing your freedom. Often the fear of commitment is linked to the fear of losing personal freedom. You may fear that by entering into a relationship, your options will diminish, that your routine will be limited, or that you will lose control over your own life. This is a common fear, especially when the idea of commitment seems like something fixed and limiting. But the most important question you must ask yourself is it your time to commit? You are not obligated to commit. You are free. Don't commit if you don't feel ready. If you're unsure or don't understand what's holding you back, it may not be the time to commit, but rather a time to get to know yourself better. You are free to avoid commitment until you fully understand why you don't want to commit. Wouldn't that be the best thing to do? The second reason is the fear of getting hurt. The fear of getting hurt, although legitimate, is part of the risk you take when you give yourself to love and commitment. The fear of betrayal, pain, or rejection may make you want to protect yourself. But remember, pain is an inevitable and temporary human experience. And when faced with courage, it doesn't destroy you, but strengthens you. Nobody dies from being hurt. Pain is proof that you're alive, that you live fully. The real risk isn't in feeling that pain, but in denying the possibility of living and loving out of fear of it. So I ask you, what are you willing to give up in your life to avoid pain? And what could you gain if you allow yourself to love without fear? If the relationship you are in, or one you are seeking, doesn't seem worth the risk of getting hurt, maybe it's not the right relationship for you. Because when the right relationship comes, you'll find that it's worth the risk, and the fear of being hurt won't weigh in your decision. The third reason is the lack of self-confidence. Sometimes the fear of commitment comes from a lack of self-confidence. You may doubt your emotional ability to handle a serious relationship, Perhaps you fear not meeting expectations or not being able to give your partner what they expect, which leads to the fear that the relationship might fail. The fear of commitment that arises from self-doubt is understandable, but it's important to remember that nobody is perfect and no relationship is free of challenges. The insecurity of not meeting your partner's expectations or feeling like you can't give them what they need can create a block. But the truth is that love and connection are built gradually, with patience and authenticity. You don't need to be perfect to be in a relationship. It's the sincerity, respect, and commitment to mutual growth that truly matter. So I ask you, are you willing to allow yourself to be imperfect and instead of fearing failure, grow and learn from each experience of love? If the answer is no, maybe it's not yet the time for you to commit. The fourth reason is the fear of not being enough and hurting the other. You might fear that you're not enough for the other person, that you won't meet their expectations, and that you'll end up hurting them. You may feel that you're not capable of offering what your partner needs, emotionally, financially, or otherwise. This creates a heavy burden as you worry about hurting them if you can't provide everything they need. This fear of failing in the relationship can make you withdraw. The fear of not being enough for the other person, of not meeting their expectations or failing to provide what they need, is a heavy burden, but it must be faced. The truth is, nobody is perfect, and no relationship requires you to be complete or flawless. What really matters is the willingness to grow together, to learn from mistakes, and to support each other in a genuine and compassionate way. You don't need to give everything your partner expects, because what strengthens a relationship the most is honest communication and emotional availability. The fear of failing can be paralyzing, but it must be overcome by trusting in the power of dialogue and mutual understanding. So, I ask you, are you willing to embrace your humanity and understand that by sharing your vulnerabilities, you create a stronger, more genuine connection? Does the relationship you have or want to have inspire you to overcome your fears? Or maybe it's still not the right relationship for you. Let me share a parable to illustrate this. The parable of the mountain and the climber. In a distant land, there was a massive, majestic mountain with high, unexplored peaks. Many adventurers tried to climb its steep slopes, but few succeeded in reaching the summit. A young dreamer, determined to reach the highest peak, began his journey with courage. But with each step, he faced loose rocks, strong winds, and difficult terrain that made him question his ability. At one point, trying to ascend a steep part of the mountain, he lost his balance and almost fell. Fear and doubt filled his heart, and he thought about giving up. Sitting at the base of the mountain, tired and disillusioned, he realized something important. The fear of not being able to continue had been part of his process, but he had also learned to strengthen his legs and to adapt his mind. Every step, no matter how difficult, had taught him how to face challenges with greater confidence. Rising with renewed determination, he decided to move forward, knowing that in the end, the mountain hadn't defeated him. It had simply prepared him to be stronger. Just like the climber, you too can overcome the fear of commitment. By facing emotional challenges and difficulties with courage, you'll discover that, instead of being defeated, you will grow stronger, wiser, and more capable of loving deeply. The fear of commitment is just one of the stones along the way. And every step you take, even with hesitation, brings you closer to a journey of self-discovery and emotional growth. You can overcome this fear. Understanding the causes is the first step. And now that you understand what may be behind this anxiety, you know you can face and overcome these challenges. Commitment doesn't have to be something that traps you or causes you pain, but rather an opportunity for growth and a deep connection with another human being. And you are free to commit only when you feel you must. Maybe it's not your time yet, or maybe it is, and you just need to face your fears with courage. The final question I will ask is, does the woman you want to be with deserve the price of fighting to overcome all your fears of commitment? Now, subscribe to the channel for more insights on love, relationships, and self-awareness. And in the comments, share. Which of these reasons do you feel most impacts your fear of commitment? How do you plan to deal with it and move forward